From Gran Fondo Cozumel, welcome to the GCN Show.
From the Cycle Smart International in Northampton, Massachusetts,
welcome to the GCN Show.
Go Pow Pow!
The Olympic Cycling Club, we're at 6 days in Gent, we've all had about 8 mineral waters. Welcome to the GCN Show!
Welcome to the GCN Show. This week we contemplate whether we should do a Bradley Wiggins retirement special or not, who knows. And we also have a look at the Dutch Headwind National Championships.
Yep, that sounds like great fun. Plus, we've got some really cool new tech. We've got carbon disc rotors, plus all our usuals as well.
Before we crack on though, we've had a lot of you commenting saying how much you like the new intro.
I love the new intro.
We do too, it has to be said. Some cracking shots in there from the Alpe region of the Dolomites, and we were riding there recently. We're going to go back as soon as we can in 2017 to do some more riding there. In the meantime though, we have done a lot of POV shots on some iconic climbs, so soon you'll be able to train along to those with us. Before we crack on with your cycling confessions, a reminder you can send your own ones in using the link which you see above us somewhere now. Make sure that you keep doing so. We have some cracking ones, but we'd love to hear more from you. Right, you'll remember that last week's one was from Beth, who, in trying to impress a rather good-looking chap on a bike going in the other direction, crashed into an Uber car. She then decided she needed an Uber to get to hospital, and the same car went around, picked her up, and she didn't mention the fact that she'd made a nice dent in the back of his car.
So what did you say? Is she guilty or not guilty?
Yeah, you voted in your droves, and 60% of you said... Not guilty! Not guilty of a crime against cycling. So Beth, you are let off the hook.
There we go. Right, okay, get listening, because this week's confession is a perler, sent in by Paul Scott. It was about 20 years ago when we lived on the south coast of England. I was using a petrol disc cutter to chop up a load of old customer trade-in and scrap bikes for tubing at my local bike shop. And I accidentally chopped a customer's vintage Bianchi that was awaiting overhaul. Now, it took me a few days to find the exact model and size of a replacement frame, which turned out to be in better condition than his original. The customer was not charged for the frame or overhaul, only paying for his new brakes and tyres that he wanted fitting. He was happy with his new bike, but asked what was wrong with his old frame. The owner of the shop told him that he had some cracks in the old frame and managed to find him a replacement. My mistake cost me £250, and I was subsequently banned from using the disc cutter, then referred to as frame killer for the next few years until I was forced to leave the country. Wow. What a story. That is a crime against cycling. Or is it?
You decide. You can use the link that's also above us right now to tell us whether you think that was a crime against cycling or not. Guilty or not guilty? Okay, this first piece of tech this week you might think belongs more with our friends in the Dutch Head Show than it does here on the GCN Show. However, with the increasing popularity of disc brakes on road bikes, we still think it's quite relevant here.
Yeah.
So the Spanish component manufacturer Alpe have come up with the lightest disc brake rotor in the world for road bikes and mountain bikes. And it's made out of carbon and ceramic polymer.
Yep, and it is unbelievably light. Just 32 grams for a 140mm rotor, which is about a third of the weight of a steel or an aluminium rotor. So pretty bonkers. And Alpha reckon that it's more durable than a steel rotor as well. But the one big question we've got in our minds is about heat management. Given that we know how much investment SRAM and Shimano have been putting into heat management on their disc rotors, you wonder how this is going to fare, given that they haven't actually done it yet. Although the motor racing world use carbon ceramic discs for them, they need about 600 degrees C to function correctly, whereas bikes are the opposite. Bikes need to be cool. So effectively, the jury's out until we actually try them.
One thing we do know is that they'll be great at going uphill, won't they?
That's
very
right.
light. Anyway, from carbon and ceramic polymer to paper. Yes, paper. This helmet is the recent winner of the very prestigious Dyson Engineering Award, and it's made out of waterproofed recycled paper in a radial honeycomb pattern. And it's also foldable for ease of storage. I guess the big question though is is it actually safe? Well, it has passed some fairly rigorous tests at European safety laboratories. It is CPSC certified as well, and you'll be able to find it on the streets of a few countries in early 2017, apparently.
Now, from paper, if I may, back to ceramic.
Oh, we've just gone away from ceramic.
Well, I know, but this is good. Ceramic Speed, who are the bearing specialist and also general kind of efficiency savings company on bikes, have just acquired the US-based research facility Friction Facts, who also specialises in effectively making your bike more efficient at moving forward. So a partnership between the two could yield some pretty exciting results, we think, and anything that makes cycling easier is a good thing.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
We are starting off cycling shorts this week with some sad news, unfortunately, because the Criterium International will not be taking place next year. The organisers, ASO, have cited a lack of density in the field, which presumably means not enough good quality riders
They can
turning
invite
up.
us along if they want some more density.
Absolutely, yeah, we'd make it dense. Anyway, apparently there are just too many really good quality races taking place at the end of March. And it is a real shame because that race has taken place every year since 1932, apparently.
Yeah, great shame indeed. Philippe Gilbert once finished 64th at the Criterium International
Did he
back
really?
in 2004. And incidentally, he's also been ordered to pay €300,000 back to his
just
former
incidentally.
team. Yeah, incidentally. Omega Pharma Lotto, after being found in breach of contract and his move to BMC in 2012. The judge effectively said that the €715,000 of bonuses that he received in 2011 were on the proviso from his team that he'd stay there in 2012, but he didn't. He moved to BMC.
That's a hefty bonus, that, isn't it?
It is on top of a €1.2 million contract annually, but then again, he did win all 4 of the Ardennes Classics back to back.
He did. Right, okay, moving on. A rider that did have a very good week last week, unlike Philippe Gilbert, was a man who had a very good 2016, full stop. Again, unlike Philippe Gilbert, I suppose, for his lofty standards.
National champion.
Anyway, Matt Hayman was awarded the Alpe Trophy for Best Australian Cyclist of the Year. Hayman obviously winning the Paris-Roubaix earlier in the year, and to commemorate it, his sponsor, bike sponsor Scott, also gave him a custom painted bike, which looks pretty cool.
It does look very cool indeed. Catherine Garfoot won the women's equivalent on the night as well.
She did.
No idea how to link to the next bit, so I'll just go straight into it. Lots of you have written into us about your disappointment and confusion about the omission of Alpe d'Huez in the 2017 Tour de France. It normally has a place in that race every other year, but for some reason, despite not being in this year's event, it's still not going to be in next year's either. But you might find a small amount of consolation in the fact that the Vuelta have announced that the infamous Angliru will be there in 2017.
Quite a bit of consolation, I would have thought.
Yeah, fans have absolutely loved that climb since it was first introduced in 1999. Riders, a little bit less so, it has to be said. And next year will be the 7th time that it's going to be used in that race.
Yeah, we need to give that a go, mate, definitely. Now, we will finish Cycling Shorts with tenuous celebrity cyclist of the week. And it is a good one, like really good. As in, like really tenuous. Anyway, Charlize Theron has been seen riding around New York City on a bicycle. Okay, she is filming scenes for a forthcoming movie called Tully, and the website foodforhealth.com, which we got this little tidbit of information from, do stress that she isn't cycling for training purposes because she actually has to put on a little bit of weight for her role. So there we go, tenuous.
Yeah, tenuous. Caption competition time now. Last week's photo was this one of World Cyclo-cross champion Wout van Aert racing.
A belter of a photo as well. I love
the
that.
winner of this clear GCN Camelback water bottle is John Bailey, who wrote, caption, how to remove an unwanted wheel sucker 101.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Very good,
John. Yeah, your Camelback water bottle will be on its way to you. All right then. Next up, we've got this photo of Sir Bradley Wiggins and his Derny pilot. Shall I go through it?
Go on then.
No, I'm really sorry, Brad. I just don't think you're going to be cut out to be a Derny rider when you retire.
I see what you did there.
Thanks.
Get in touch in the comment section below with your best captions. We'll choose our favourite one next week. And a quick reminder to John Bailey, get in touch with us on Facebook via message with your address so that we can get this off to you.
You saw what I did, mate, but you neglected to say whether or not it was good or not.
No, I saw what you did.
The
Gent 6 Day, one of the most famous or perhaps infamous races in the pro calendar.
The crowd has had amazing fun. They've all been drinking a lot. I've had at least 8 mineral waters myself.
I can't get enough of that clip.
No, never get bored of
Genius.
that, ever. In fact, thank you to whoever bought me the mineral waters on Saturday night when I was there. Very, very thankful indeed for that. This race was supposed to be the final swan song for a certain Sir Bradley Wiggins, marking the end of a remarkable career in which he's won multiple gold medals at the Olympics on the track and a Tour de France too.
But is it the end? Now, he and partner Mark Cavendish took a dramatic victory, which we will talk about later in racing news. And it would have provided the perfect swan song for Wiggo, given that he said he always wanted to go out on top. But then, post-race, he said that it might not be his last race, which sounds like something that I would say if it definitely wasn't. So, for example, sorry, Dan, that might not be the last climb of the day, actually.
Yeah, or that might not be my final beer of this evening, perhaps.
Brilliantly illustrated.
In the press conference afterwards, this is what he had to say. It's easy sitting here with all the glory of winning and think, let's do it all again. But when you're out there, I wouldn't like to just at any point next year think to myself, you stupid idiot, why did you carry on?
You know what, Dan? I think the deciding factor, in truth, could well be the weather. Okay, because if you were thinking about racing for another year and you were contemplating all the training that was involved, and you looked out the window and saw what we're looking at today, you would be forgiven for retiring on the spot. It's rank.
Not really riding weather at the moment, is it?
Yeah.
One thing is for sure, though, he certainly enjoyed himself over those final 6 days of racing, or possibly the final 6 days of racing, and particularly in the post-race celebrations. Ilio Kesa put this picture up of Wiggo afterwards when he was celebrating his father's bar, and apparently took the place over by being on the mic.
Nice. Even the worst race you've ever done probably looks all right from that bar, doesn't it? And to be fair, Mark Cavendish was getting into the swing of things as well. Check this clip out. Here he is doing the YMCA. Good dad dancing that.
Mark Cavendish, YMCA.
Should have maybe saved it for Extreme Corner.
Just about to say the same thing.
It's time now for Tweet of the Week, and Dom has pulled out a couple of absolute crackers for us. First up, we got this from Fabian Cancellara. Does it look like my new job? Saturday, the surprise will follow with my friends in Switzerland. Check it out, Switzerland's new boy band. And do you know what I like about this, Dan? Fabian's staying true to his roots by finding a job in the band where he can sit down. Just
on the
true
keyboard.
bike rider. Yeah.
I'd like to watch that. It's more of a man band though, isn't it, than boy? Matt Heyman, meanwhile, but do I get sick of talking about Roubaix? No. And that's fair enough, Matt. I definitely wouldn't get sick of talking about it either.
Do you get sick of talking about Cervelo testing?
No, not really.
We were expecting to report on the latest round of the Cyclo-cross World Cup, which was going to take place at the legendary venue of Koksijde, but the whole event had to get cancelled due to a storm. It would appear that you can run Gent-Wevelgem in high winds, but you can't run a cyclocross race. Although, to be fair, if you check this tweet out from top rider Gianni Vermeersch, you can kind of see why. That does look a bit sketchy, doesn't it?
It would have been slightly sketchy, although from a personal perspective, I was absolutely gutted. I was over in Belgium at the weekend and hoping to go along and watch the race, so very disappointed
Yeah,
for
I'd
me
be gutted.
indeed. But understandable. Nevertheless, the riders had to do something with their days. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't just go back home and put their legs up next to a log fire. But their varying approaches were very different indeed. So, current world champion Wout van Aert decided to ride around in circles, very close, small circles, forming a figure of 8. Goodness knows how many times he did that.
Or did goodness knows why.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the world champion from the previous year, Mathieu van der Poel, decided to ride home to Capellen, which is over 200 kilometres away. Now, presumably he had those gale force winds in his favour. It took him just over 6 hours to do the 200-kilometre journey, but he didn't find it that easy. He put the hashtag little more than I expected, which has been used 4 times since Twitter's inception many years ago. Not really catching on, is it?
Not particularly. But then hardly anyone tweeted what is Bazooka until a few months ago. So I wonder how many actually Ks that Wout van Aert clocked up in that sandpit.
190, do you think?
Yeah, probably a little bit less. Actually, a bit more resistance. Anyway, staying in Belgium, but moving just up the road to the Ghent 6-day, because World Marathon champions Mark Cavendish and Bradley Wiggins took a memorable victory. Very impressive, in fact, because they're the first British winners of the event ever. They climbed from 3rd place to 1st place in the final event by taking a lap. And to be fair, it was a popular victory, even though they actually pipped local favourites to the line. Local favourites, meanwhile, that had actually done exactly the same to them at the London Six just a couple of weeks before.
Yeah, it was very exciting indeed.
Yeah, you almost couldn't write that, could you? Amazing.
No, staying in Northern Europe, our worst nightmare took place on Sunday in the form of the Dutch Headwind National Championships. Quite an incredible event. Now, there's no fixed date for this national championship. They've got a rough idea of when they want it to be, but then they just wait for the worst weather possible and make sure that it's then. So they probably couldn't have believed their luck as sadistic organisers when they finally found that a storm was brewing, and goodness knows what that headwind speed was.
Oh. Well, I tell you what, to make matters even more interesting, riders have to use standard town bikes for it. They're not even allowed decent bikes, which makes it pretty tough going, I would have thought. The women's event was won by Matilda Matthijs, and then in the men's event, it was actually a triathlete that won it. Yeah, and he, Toon Sphere, took some pretty big names in the process, including Johnny Hogeland, who could only finish 5th. Now, the stats make for some pretty grim reading. It took Toon 22 minutes and 30 seconds to complete 8.5k, which is an average speed, some quick maths, of 22.7 k's an hour, which is pretty brutal, and he still put a minute into all his rivals.
That's not too bad though, is it? 22.7 in a brutal headwind on a town bike.
No, it's going some, but that is quite hard work.
Right, we shall finish racing news with the Tour of Rwanda, which is vastly increasing in popularity over the years. And this next video really caught our attention. This is the Mur de Kigali, and the local rider Valens Chisenga of Dimension Data for Quebec won both this stage, the penultimate one, and also the overall classification. I don't even want to start imagining what his reception was like on the podium in the yellow jersey after the final stage. It must have been absolutely incredible. Hack / bodge of the week. Loads of them for you again this time around. The first one comes in from Lucas. It's actually his girlfriend that took this photo, but asked him to send it into us using the hashtag GCN Hack. They are some wooden mudguards with a Tetra Pak extension at the back. Wooden mudguard's great. The Tetra Pak probably works, but doesn't look particularly good.
Very sustainable though. We've got sustainable wooden mudguards and then recycling for the back. So, you know, all credit for your environmental credentials there. Right, next up we've got this from Tom, who has just sent in this, which to be fair, probably needs no explanation. There's a steering wheel on the front of that bike instead of handlebars.
He's paid close attention to making sure that steering wheel cannot be nicked as well. That's a pretty heavy duty lot that he's using there. Like this one, it came in from Adam Reynolds on Twitter. But no
Dr. Adam Reynolds, no less.
Is it? No punches for over 400 Ks on my Vittoria Open Corsa SC, which is held together by thread. No less.
That's some good suturing there. He is a doctor, literally by trade, and has obviously done some pretty good operation on his tubs there.
I've got this a few times, as you can imagine, from different people. This particular one from John E. Boy. Christmas bike edition, perhaps, and it's a holder for a beer bottle that just fixes onto your handlebars. Probably 3D printed. Great idea, of course, in my opinion.
To be fair, mate, there's no way you could tolerate that because of the amount of spillage.
You just reckon, even out of a small bottle top like that?
Well, yeah,
I'm willing to test.
You'd want a cork in it, wouldn't you? Well, you probably wouldn't have any left, would you? You've just seen it off already. Anyway, this is cool, from Kieran Brown.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a spin on my homemade rollers on Lasty's old cyclo-cross bike. Look at that.
How old is that, do you reckon?
That was what you rode that as a junior, I think.
Yeah, does look quite old. Good job on the rollers though. They do look slightly more sturdy than the ones that Lasty made out of wood and rolling pins.
A bit rusty though.
Yeah, that's true.
And then this one, recovering post-Everesting, according to Mr. Percussive, on his Do-It-All bike, which is a mountain bike with drop handlebars. There we go.
He says does nothing especially well, but everything quite well. Fair enough.
Bit like you, mate.
We've had something like this before, that's very true. I'm glad you said that I do quite a lot of things fairly well. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought it through, actually. Yeah, no,
Steve Larkin. We're getting a lot of people who are sending things from their wives and girlfriends. Wife wanted to start cycling in on my winter bike, and she had no shoes, so a spare set of cleats and some grip tape did the job, and that's a very neat looking package there.
It is, yeah. Good hack, that one. Nice. Right then. Oh, goodness me,
Sorry,
Dan, what again?
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel Lloyd, according to Ebigarella. I guess you're going to like this GCN hack. Yeah, it's a chain keeper, and Lloyd clearly does like that.
Yes, I do. And we have another homemade carbon fibre bike. This one comes in from David McKenna. Designed, engineered and fabricated in 1 year. And there he is, stood out in the road with it.
Check it out. Good work, David. That is a hack, building your own bike out of carbon. Nice work. If you want to get involved, then make sure you submit your hacks and bodges for our approval using the hashtag GCN Hack on Twitter, or just send them in on Facebook.
Or Instagram.
Or on Instagram.
Comment of the week now. We've been looking through most of your comments for the previous 7 days and have picked out a few of our favourites. The first of which came in from Mike Thomas underneath Ask GCN Anything with Sir Chris Hoy. He was a legend, by the way.
Yeah, he was,
as if we didn't already know. We need a GTN channel with Chris at the helm, and we would absolutely love that. However, Chris does seem remarkably busy post-retirement. I'm not sure he's going to find the time to fit that in, unfortunately.
No. If you haven't seen those videos with Sir Chris yet, do check them out because they were brilliant. Right, next up, we've got this from Carl Polanski, who said, a friend used his phone to watch GCN's How to Change a Flat on the side of the road video after his first ever puncture, and now he can change a tyre quicker than anyone else I know. That is very cool, but has he seen how to change a flat in record time? Because we want to know if he can fix it quicker than me. What time?
1 minute 53.
1 minute 53. Beat that. Probably, to be honest, but anyway, make sure you check it out.
And finally, underneath the top 5 strangest cycling team names, we had this from Doug Hungerford. How does Matt pronounce those names so eloquently? What a pro!
Serramenti, PVC, Dick Giovanni, Androni, Giocattoli.
Smevmev reply with Matt, One Take Stevens. Yes, that is Matt, One Take Stevens.
Back in 1986, the likes of, I forgot his name, hold on, to fund riders' salaries, Team Logistics. Thankfully, the team is now called, I forgot what it's called.
I expect you'll all want to know what's coming up on the Global Cycling Network this week. We are about to tell you. So on Wednesday, we give you some ways to get more aerodynamic on the bike, or we don't. It's one of the top aero gurus from our friends at Zip.
It looks a little uncomfortable. It takes a bit of practice, but you're going to see it in the numbers. If you're ever doing a time trial or in a breakaway on a road race, these will make some big differences. And then keeping everything tidy. So your helmet straps, any extra bags or cables on your bike, that's also stuff you can get for free. Just attention to detail.
So is my position now, like my body position, is that about as good as it can go?
I think, you know, you're a pretty aero guy. There's not much sticking out there.
That's the biggest compliment anyone's ever paid me.
And on Thursday, it's top 8 ways to dismount your bike. And on Friday, we've got another special edition of Ask GCN Anything. This week, we are filming some more training videos for you with some special guests. So this week's Ask GCN Anything will be with Emily Collins, Lucy Martin and Jessie Walker.
Yeah. Right then, on Saturday, we have got Tom Last's Pro Bike, his Trek Madon, which, I don't know whether you remember, he designed himself. And then on Sunday, we've got a really cool first look at the new Explorer X5 bike computer. So that is the first ever head unit with a built-in camera. So that's going to be good. And then Monday, we have our usual Maintenance Monday.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Okay, before we launch into Extreme Corner, I've got a little bit of GCN Shop news now. In case you hadn't remembered, it is coming up to Christmas.
And so we now have in the shop these, which you might remember we used regularly this time last year on the lead up to Christmas. So head over to shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com to make sure that you get your hands on one if you want one. They are in reasonably limited supply.
GCN Christmas jumper?
Yeah, you've got to get it in time for the 25th of December as well. And talking of Christmas gifts, also on shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com now are gift cards, which means that if your partner doesn't really know what to get you and you are a fan of GCN and you want some GCN merch, you can tell them to get you a gift card and then you can get what you want next year.
That's cool, that. Right then, it is now time for Extreme Corner. And we had a number of comments last week saying what mountain biking was doing in the GCN show in Extreme Corner. Well, first of all, we think it has a place, but just for you guys, here is something on the roadside.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Possibly not quite as extreme as last week's video. I wouldn't do it myself, but you will forgive us if we do go back into some mountain bike videos in a not too distant future.
Yeah, there will always be a place for mountain bikes on GCN. Right then, now I'm sure you all do by now, but just in case you don't, make sure you subscribe to GCN. To do it, all you got to do is click on the globe that's hovering somewhere on this screen.
And we've got some more content for you to go to right now. Kyle Polansky's friend might want to click just up there to find out if he is as fast as the fastest person in this room able to change an inner tube.
That's right, on the side of the road no less. Or to see a recent video which is all about how to make carbon wheels. That's right, Zip opened their doors to the factory to us, and it's quite a fascinating look, if I do say so myself. That is just down there. Make sure you check it out.
Bye for now.